Alright, there we are. Apologies for the lateness. Totally lost track of time.
女の子は
My
結
bad.
婚式の翌日から自画像を描く練習を始めた。こちらの世界には一人しか人間はいない。だから絵の方に自分を描き込むことにしたのだ。今回は鏡を見れば描くべきものが見て取れたので、それほど時間はかからなかった。自分を描くという行為は言葉にしづらいが、なかなか不思議な感触だった。屋敷内の絵をすべて描き直した。向こうの世
Hey,
界では
bitches.
二人の人間が笑っていた。やはり絵の中の自分を見るのは不思議な気持ちだった。それが言葉で説明できない。少女にはその感情がよくわからなかった。それでも、ずっと、ずっと、初めて、何ヶ月も飽きることなく、その絵は彼女の興味を引き続けた。少女は世界に一人。だから彼女は神様だった。不思議な出来事が起こった。何百枚とあったすべての絵を描き直した翌日、絵の中の二人が動き出していた。しかし、少女にはそれが
Hey,
異常かと問え
Scream.
る概念がなかったの
How you
で、
doing?
驚くことはなかった。彼女はそもそも人間を作り出そうとしていたからだ。うまくいったのだろうか。
No, it's alright. Yes, the Overwatch 2 beta invites are gonna be going out tonight, I guess. I'm not sure exactly at what time, but yeah. I know, I'm informed. Thank you for thinking of me, though.
神様は箱庭を覗き込む。じっと絵の中を覗き込む。どうやら向こうの世界からはこちらの世界が見えていないらしい。絵の中の二人は笑い合いながら何かをしている。しかし、絵がぼやけている。世界そのものが歪んで何かが見て取れない。どうしてだろうと、結果が確かめられない。そこにあるはずのものを読み取れない。不思議な感情が女の子に芽生える。それも形容することができない。形容することのできないことは辞書でも調べられない。なぜ、あれほどはっきりしていた絵が見えなくなってしまったのか。失敗だったのだろうか。しかし絵の中の二人は笑い合っている。それだけを感じる。だから絵の外の自分がおかしくなる。何かが間違っていたのだろう。自分はそうやって失敗を重ねて物事を理解してきたはずだ。そう。女の子は思い直す。彼女は何度も絵を描き直した。しかし、ことごとく同じ結果となった。女の子はよくわからなくなる。何もかもがよくわからなくなった。私はそこで手を止めて机を離れた。ずっと椅子に座り通しだった体はしぶしがひどくこわばっている。 特に肘から先が痛みを覚える。緊張して力みすぎていたのかもしれない。腕。自分の腕をぼんやりと眺める。一体これは誰の腕なんだろう。細さも長さも自分が知っているものとは違う。まるで知らない体だ。いつものように体を点検していて、ふとため息が漏れた。足を目にした途端、スカートの裾から膝に向けて伸びた赤い線を見たのだ。血だ。それを一度目にすると、太ももの付け根からそこまでの道筋に血の流れた感触があることを覚える。
Yeah, things are a little bit more delicate here, Scrim. It's because she has a memory defect from an accident, and so she has trouble. Not trouble, but she doesn't actually remember herself growing, you know? It's been years, and in her memory, her body should have been a certain way, but it's not.
こんなことにも気づかないほど集中していたのか。精神的な憂鬱さは分かっていたが、肉体的にもまた憂鬱な時期が来ていたのだ。まったく面倒なこと。拭うのも下着を変えるのも億劫で、そのまま部屋の真ん中にぼんやりと立ち尽くす。終わるな。あと2時間もすればあの物語は終わる。ようやく終わった。ここまで来れた。達成感はなかったが、考えはあった。あれを書いたら終われるんだ。それは決めていたことだった。ずっとこの物語を書き上げるのだと意識した瞬間から決めていたこと。だから私は最後のシーンを書く前に姉に手紙を書くことにした。メールではなく自らの手で文字を書くことにした。自分の身に閉じ込めておくと破裂してしまいそうな思いがある。だから文字に還元してこぼさないといけない。少しずつこの身からこぼれる血のように。しかし追いつかない。思いを文字として吐き出そうとしてもうまくいかない。苦しい。何も積み重ならないはずの私の身にそれは確実に堆積していたのだ。街は夕暮れ。空が真っ赤で街が真っ赤で人が真っ赤だ。私は手紙に封をしてポストに投函した。それはいつもの相談ではなく決意の告白だったから。メールのようにすぐには届かず、しかしすべてが終わってから姉の手に届くように手紙にした。ふわふわする。貧血を起こしているのかもしれないと思い、無理に歩かずぼんやりと人混みの中で立ち尽くす。ひらりふわりと冬の花が舞えばいいのに。ああ、それはきっととてもきれいだろう。赤いものを埋め尽くすように雪が降ればいい。白く永遠に。私はまた空を見る。
Yeah, he's usually around, silent listener.
赤いな。
You like deep red sunsets? Yes, sunsets are beautiful. The next day, I went to the school library but didn't see Chihiro. Had she just not come yet? It was Saturday. School was out, so I wasn't visiting out of idle curiosity. I set down the lunch I made for us and waited. Yes, yes. The stories are narrated, like there are multiple stories in the visual novel, and they're narrated from the perspective of the guy, but there are also excerpts that are already voice acted and narrated from the perspective of the girl. So that's what you saw earlier from the perspective of Chihiro, and now we're back to the perspective of Renji-kun. Yes, yeah, because these are not voice actors, so I'm reading them. This is better than Morgan Freeman? No, no way. Hush, hush. Chihiro still hadn't shown up at 3 p.m. At 4 p.m. I thought it was getting strange and left school. She might have had something to do, so I went to ask Himura-san. However, the church was empty. He wasn't behind the altar, in the shadow of the doorway, or sitting in any pews. I searched all over, but there was really no one there. Mild dose of helium. Oh, come on. I'm pretty sure that would still sound much better than me, but I appreciate the belief. Ah, I'm sorry. The sound effects are very realistic and good. Feels bad. It was like everyone was playing hide and seek. What now? I placed my hands on my waist and thought it over. I had no idea where Himura-san would be. Hey, I got it. I didn't know where Himura-san would be, but I had an idea of where Chihiro was. Yeah, especially since they do have voice actors when, the scenes aren't written from their perspective. It's kind of weird, but at the same time, it gives me something to do, Otherwise, I would just be sitting here reading and, yeah. You should know because yours doesn't creak like that. Yeah, well, in the moment, you don't have time to do all of these computations in your mind, right? Like, it's just the old part of your brain that doesn't do logical reasoning, just reacts and doesn't think through, because it's normal. That's how you're made, to be able to promptly react to unexpected circumstances. The station. The sun set as I walked through the city. Ah, so red. Haha, found you. She stood up when she heard me laugh. She wasn't in her uniform, but her regular clothes. I hadn't seen those in a while.
Renji-kun.
Hello, Chihiro. We hadn't met in 3 days, so I kept the greeting as direct as possible. I tried to keep things as ordinary as possible. I'm sorry. Why are you here today? I smiled so that it wouldn't seem like I was condemning her.
もう図書室に行く必要がなくなったので、ここにいればきっとレンジ君が来てくれると思ったから。
I don't know exactly what you mean. So it's done?
完成しました。小説。一人で書けました。
I don't know what you want to do. I don't know what you're asking. Please don't do anything weird. It was somewhat unbelievable. She was able to finish it herself. I got advice from Himura-san, and yet she reached the conclusion before I did. I see. Congratulations.
ありがとうございます。でも、レンジ君のおかげです。
She was smiling. Unlike me, she truly looked delighted. I didn't do anything. You did it from start to finish.
いいえ、レンジ君がいなければ 私は何もしなかったと思います。
She picked up an envelope from the bench and handed it to me. It looked about as thick as a manuscript. So this is it.
まだです。レンジ君が読んで問題なければ完成です。私だけじゃなくて、二人で書いてきたものですから。
Okay, well, I cannot listen to things. Crazy realistic knocking sound. Okay. Alright. Okay, I got you. I see. Can I read it now?
私が帰った後で読んでください。恥ずかしいので。
Oh. That feels bad. Sorry. Is it like when you... Okay, no, that's fine. Got it. Though I said that, I was so curious I couldn't keep my eyes off the envelope. How had the story developed while I wasn't around? Which conclusion had she chosen from those three options?
それで、お礼がしたいのですが、ご褒美かもしれませんけど。
Reward?
明日、私とデートしてくれませんか?
Huh? It sounded like some kind of joke, but her eyes were dead set.
私の恋人になってもらえませんか?
Ooh, me?
レンジ君しかいませんよ。
That's a dumb question. She captured me in her eye, illuminated red in the sunset. Yeah. I honestly didn't know how I should respond. It was so abrupt. However, if that was her goal, then I guess my response was normal. With this conclusion, the novel was complete. There was nothing else left to do. She suddenly laughed. What was that for? I was shocked to see her so cheerful.
急な話でびっくりしますよね。
Yeah. What a pitiful response on my part. Was I dreaming? Was this really happening right now?
もちろん、すぐに答えをもらわなくてもいいです。だから、明日はお試し期間ということにしましょう。
A trial period?
はい。私とレンジ君は明日だけ恋人です。それでデートして判断してください。
But...
以前にレンジ君が言った友達と一緒です。なってみて、そこで初めてわかることもあると思います。
She was assertive and more talkative than usual. What was it? Something was caught in my mind, but I couldn't put it into words well.
どうでしょう。そもそも嫌われているのならいいのですが。
I haven't. That much was for sure. If I disliked her, I wouldn't be worrying. Got it. Let's go on a date. I held the envelope she gave me and nodded.
よかった。
She sighed in relief. I was really glad it wasn't a joke. We had become lovers. However, I really wasn't feeling overjoyed. It was probably because she called it a trial period. Now, I had a feeling I was forgetting something very important.
レンジ君。
Hmm?
明日はちゃんと私を恋人だと思ってくださいね。
Huh? Yeah.
明日だけはずっといつもと変わらずにいてください。
Okay.
それじゃあ明日はここに10時集合で。
Yeah, no. That's not what she means. She smiled and turned away. Suddenly, what had been caught in my mind finally came out. Chihiro. I called out to her in a fluster. I realized it. Could it be?
はい。
She looked back at me. As if she were dancing, she turned like she knew I was going to call out to her. Did you write in your diary what happened 4 days ago?
私、レンジ君が大好きです。
She turned her back to me without answering. But that couldn't have been a better answer. I sat on the bench and began reading the story. I started from the beginning. Skipping over the portion we made together, I soon reached to the part of the story I didn't know. Reading it was an indulgence. The world she had depicted was overwhelming. I don't care how niche it is. I love the anime from the bottom of my heart, and doing the VN right now is kind of like a very long ago dream come true. So don't really give a damn about how many followers the category has. It was like a drug. At the pit of loneliness and anguish, my heart was jarred when the girl sought salvation. And I reached the final sentence. The conclusion took a moment to comprehend. I reread the final scene over and over, again and again. What in the world had happened with Chihiro these last 3 days? That wasn't an ending that either of us had come up with. A girl was the only person in her world. Therefore, that made her God. God thought she would make the world much cleaner. So she burned all of the pictures. She set fire to the mansion and the castle. She burned all of her memories completely.
最後に神様は世界に一つ残ったゴミを崖から捨てた。冬の教会はそれだけで神秘的だ。閉鎖している感じがする。私はそこで祈っていた。瞳を閉じて、しかし手は組まず立ち尽くしていた。
Thank you, Scrim. Yes, my posture I think is fine. I just adjusted it a minute ago. And I do have some water with me. My emote looks so weird mirrored. What?
Okorazu, ogorazu, furuezu, ataezu, ubawazu, ただ純粋に祈りだけを捧げていた。
本当にお前らは似てるな。
声にまぶたを開いた。ただいま戻りました。
それは家に帰ってから使う言葉だけどね。
私を迎えに来た日村さんが隣に立った。私と誰が似てるのですか？
さあ、もう忘れたよ。
そうですか。
ただ浮世離れしてるというか、後ろ姿というか、殉教者みたいな雰囲気かな。
レンジ君のことではないのですね。自分が勘違いしていたことに気づく。誰か別の女性のことだろうか。日村さんはポケットに手を差し込んで目線を落とした。そこにはボロボロになった布切れが、マフラーらしきものがあった。なんだろう。不思議そうに見上げていた私に気づいたのか、彼は苦笑いを浮かべる。
冬は苦手だ。
私も苦手です。私は表情なく答えた。だってここは間違った時間だから。私が最後に目を閉じたのは夏のことだったのに。目覚めると冬にいる。寒くて寂しい冬にいる。そういえば日村さんに一つお知らせがあります。恥ずかしくて今まで黙っていたみたいですけど、 お姉ちゃんに恋人ができたそうですよ。
あの K に？
井村さんが慌てたようにつぶやく。
いや、それはめでたいことだな。
はい、とてもおめでたいことです。私は祭壇を見上げた。心の底から思う。照れていたのか、ぶっきらぼうなメールでの報告だったけれど、だからこそお姉ちゃんが笑顔を浮かべていることが伝わって、私の分まで幸せになってほしかった。
詳しい話はうちで聞くよ。今日の夕飯は何がいいかな。そろそろ寒くなってきたし、鍋も悪くないか。
井村さんがきびすを返す。しかし私は動かなかった。だから彼は途中で立ち止まって私を見た。
何？
人を好きになるってどんな気持ちですか？井村さんが周囲を見渡した。もちろん誰もいない。
そうきたか。
彼は姿勢を正してため息をついた。
それは男女間での好きってことだよね。
はい。
そうだな。どうにもならない。気づいた時にはもう遅いんだ。どんな気持ちになってたってもう手遅れだってこと。
手遅れ。その言葉の意味を考える。雪のようなものかもしれない。白くて綺麗なものがあっと思った時には舞い降りてきているのだ。あまりにも遠くて深いところから降ってくるから目の前まで来ないと気づかないのだ。天使の羽のように。それじゃあ私も手遅れかもしれません。
そうか。
今まで本当にありがとうございました。私はペコリと頭を下げた。雪の儚さを思う。綺麗だけれども触れてはいけない。人のぬくもりで消えてしまうものだから。
Transience is written as people's dreams in kanji.
ついに壊れた？
Mizuki didn't seem all that interested. I'd probably say the same if someone suddenly brought this up. No, just back to normal. I held the phone with my shoulder as I flipped through Chihiro's story. She had probably kept running for a long time. Like a child scared of what wasn't there. Why did she write this story? It was faint, but I could see something in it. I just couldn't put it into words. Mizuki loves shoujo manga, so I gave her a call hoping she could give me a hint.
私忙しいんだけど。
With what?
もうすぐテストがあるのよ、テストが！推薦取るための大切な！
Calm down, I have tests soon too. When were they again?
一体何なのよ。もうしょうがないな。
Had she found some resolve?
で、本当に急に電話してきたりしてどうしたの？
Right now, I was grateful for her noisy self. She wasn't involved with my current circumstances, so I could talk to her comfortably. Everyone has tests all the time. Well, yeah. Do you know what kind of feeling loneliness is?
ケイ先輩と離れてる時の私の気持ち。
Not that. She always went there.
違うの？
Actually, sorry. Yes, loneliness was what I felt when I couldn't see Chihiro. It was what I felt when she wasn't smiling. It was like the loneliness the girl felt when she met the boy. And when the boy met the girl as well. That's it.
何が？
If you know happiness, then you know loneliness.
千尋さんの話？
Yeah. I unhappily confirmed. I really am easy to understand, huh?
バカだから。
I can live with that, I guess.
でも、優しいよね。
She quickly said the same thing as the girl from my dream.
ねえ、レンジ。
Her tone of voice suddenly changed.
私ね、レンジのこと、好きだよ。
Huh? Miniature Garden. Oh, that's a cool title. I snapped Chihiro's story shut.
だから、友達作りなさいよ。優しさはね、持ってるだけじゃ意味がないの。相手がいないと宝の持ち腐れなんだから。
That's very wise. Good job, Mizuki. I was dumbfounded. Before I knew it, I had pulled the phone away from my ear and was staring at the receiver. That was it. Chihiro's answer was painfully correct. And at the same time, mistaken. There were two sides to everything. I had reached the genuine article before Chihiro.
ちょっと、聞いてんのレンジ。おーい。ああ、無視ですか。勉強を置いて相談乗ってるこの私を無視ですか。いい度胸ですね。
Her screechy voice pulled me back to reality. Mizuki,
何そう。
you're amazing.
はい
Hi. The sky was clear that day, almost as though it were taking pride of winter. She was seated at the station bench reading a book. That was to be expected, and so I immediately called out to her. I became unable to move when I noticed something was different. One step late, she noticed my presence and stood.
レンジ君ですか？
Yeah. Morning.
おはようございます。
She greeted me with a full smile. Such a casual action left me in rapture.
早いですね。まだ9時ですよ。
Yeah, I figured I should come early since Chihiro usually did. I continued to gaze absent-mindedly without saying anything.
どうしましたか？
Nothing. I just noticed your outfit.
これ、似合いますか？
She spun around and her skirt fluttered. They were just like her usual clothes, but her girlish mannerisms and adornments gave off a much different impression.
デ
all,
ートですから、おめかししてきました。
all in due time, Scream, all in due time. She teasingly smiled. That sweet smell, probably perfume? She may have been wearing some light makeup. Amazing.
すごい。
Sorry. That wasn't the best way of telling her how she looked. I meant, you're amazingly cute.
ありがとうございます。
But isn't it cold? It was such a true winter day that I could see my breath. Should I have called it symbolic? Maybe it was like this because we were finally going on a date.
ちょっとは。でも、こういう時の女の子は我慢です。それに。
She held out her hand before me. I was taken aback by such a spontaneous action. As I took her hand, I was surprised by how soft, how small, and how cold it was.
冬は寒いから、こうやって手をつないだり、近くにいてもおかしくないんです。
Her smile was like a flower. Yeah. It felt unreal. Was Chihiro really like this? Or was this a dream? Oh. Yes, that's the thing we Romanians say, that call hands means they're sincere. Hey, Kevin. You are too precious, my dude. I would say we have been blessed by your presence. How about that? Doctor circulation problems. It's winter time, okay? That's all that's happening in the novel. No, it was the opposite. It was more like the way she acted up until now was a dream. I suspected her current spontaneous existence was the true her.
驚いてますよね。
Huh?
レンジ君にふさわしい恋人になろうと、いっぱいいっぱい本を読んだりして勉強してきたんです。今日だけは恋人ということで我慢してくださればと思うのですが。
Oh, that's grim. Still holding my hand, she appeared troubled.
ごめんなさい。変だったらやめます。
No, it's not. I'm the one who's being weird. I grinned and shook my hand. My head. Not my hand. My head. It was naturally unnatural. It was unnaturally natural. Chihiro was Chihiro after all. She probably put all her effort into her appearance, but you're crafty yet awkward. Her eyes went wide in puzzlement. No, it's nothing. I squeezed her hand. It was amusing how crafty she was, able to conduct herself this way just from studying, and how awkward she was by actually saying it out loud. I remembered today's objective. We would enjoy ourselves on our date as much as possible. And laugh. And play. For a long, long time in order to not lose our dear time together. We would make happy memories, like my unwillingness to relinquish her hand. Aww. There you go, they're holding hands, Grim. Hope you're happy. We have a little time before all the shops open.
そうですね。
We stopped in the middle of downtown. We had been holding hands all the way from the station. It was embarrassing, yet pleasant. Though we were both clumsy, if we parted hands, we probably wouldn't know when it would be okay to hold them again.
何か予定とかありますか？
I thought we might go see a movie first, but what do you think? I had no experience with dates, so it was my first and only suggestion.
いいですね。
Are cinemas open that early in the morning, though? What kind of movie would be good? Maybe a romance film?
悲しくないものでしたらいいのですが。
Let's see. It would be difficult to find a romance film that wasn't sad. A love film without a turning point wouldn't be interesting in the first place. Tragic love was the foundation of most romance films. Yeah, something that isn't sad would be good. Well, in my experience, people don't really go to the cinema early in the day. When I was in university and I used to go to the cinema a lot, I once decided to go at the very first showing of a movie in a particular day, and it was at lunchtime around 12, and there was no one there. It was just me. They played the movie just for me. Okay. So that's why I'm wondering, are cinemas generally open in the morning? I scratched my head with my free hand and nodded. For certain, that was something neither of us wanted to see today. Okay, so it wasn't special. Well, out there, I believe I had an interesting experience. Oh, but wouldn't choosing something happy be difficult?
何がですか？
We won't know what will happen until the very end, so we can't really tell if it's sad or not. There could be an unexpected plot twist or something.
ああ、そうですね。
Oh, I see. That's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. But I was alone. It was just me, my lonely self, who decided to go to the cinema on a Sunday at lunch because she had projects to work on for the university after. So she figured that, you know, waking up in the morning, doing like her breakfast and morning routine and preparing stuff, going to the cinema, watching the movie, and then coming back and having like a full slot in the afternoon to work on her stuff was the best way to organize her day. And then she went to the cinema and watched The Social Network just by herself. And The Social Network, that's what it was. We both stood there like idiots. As for other genres, horror and action films were out of the question.
とりあえず面白そうなものであれば、恋愛映画でも大丈夫です。
You sure?
私がボロボロ泣くかもしれませんが、気にしないでくださいね。
Is that foreshadowing? Nothing. Shall we go then? I walked with her hand in hand. Come to think of it, what kind of movies do you like?
セブンとか羊たちの沈黙は大好きです。
And she doesn't want sad things? Excuse me? Oh, Beatrice, thank you, you're too kind. Especially since today I kind of skimped on the makeup and went a little bit, you know, lighter. Thank you guys, you're too cute. Renji's face. That was unexpected. Those were over-the-top suspense films. They did air on television 4 years ago, but it was amazing that she watched those sorts of things back then.
ドキドキして面白いですよ。
I responded to her inquiring look. Oh. Oh, sorry. All I could do was apologize as I sipped my coffee. We went to a coffee shop after the movie ended. Well, I brought her, but she just kept crying. Or rather, I brought her because she kept crying. I didn't think it would end up like that. She shook her head. Although she told me not to worry about it, her crying made it seem as if I had just broken up with her. I felt a swarm of stares from all over the restaurant. She can watch the same movie again and again, I suppose. It's not a very desirable thing, though. Right? At any rate, I sipped my coffee and waited for her to stop crying. We avoided a love film and picked a famous feel-good type of film. I figured it wouldn't upset her. I couldn't understand her through the weeping very well, but it seemed like she was apologizing. She was also like this the time she cried at the station that one day. Honestly, she was like a child. Do you need tissues? I'll stay here then. I saw her off as she slowly rose from her seat. I ordered more coffee for myself, and since hers had gone cold, I ordered some orange juice.
失礼しました。
Welcome back. Wash my face. Yeah, they're just trying to replicate in a way, in the translation, the feeling of like her words and sounds being basically mangled because she's crying. Well, you're probably thirsty from crying, so I ordered some orange juice. Man, I would love some right now.
ありがとうございます。
Orange juice is superior. It was cute how she blushed when I pointed it out. I smiled and gazed at her, and she looked back and blushed. How heartwarming.
失礼しました。でも本当にいい話でした。
It was. The movie definitely wasn't bad. A family's parents had a shaky relationship, and their children, two sisters, tried hard to get them back together. The children had some pretty absurd ideas, but the viewer would feel a sense of endearment towards their clumsy yet eager enthusiasm as they carried out their antiques. Is it like the one with Lindsay Lohan when she's like a twin of herself? Oh no! They forgot your orange juice! No! I'm so sorry. That unexpected development was what made it interesting.
そうですね。まさか姉妹がお別れすることになるとは思いませんでした。
Their plan temporarily restored their parents' relationship, but they couldn't settle things in the end. The father left the house, and the older sister went with him. On the surface, the younger sister, who was normally attached to her older sister, acted like she was sick of her and their selfish mother. Okay, it's not that movie, it's a different movie. The work-obsessed father, who couldn't do any household chores, was a pitiful person himself, so the older sister took it upon herself to leave the house. Even though it was a spectacular performance, it failed, but the children did convince their parents that they had animosity towards one another.
あの続きがあるのは珍しいのですかね。
Yeah, oranges are nice. Be the in like just the actual fruit or in juice form, oranges are superior. I like them very much. I wouldn't say they're my favorite fruit, but out of plenty of like juices and other fruit, yeah, oranges. Me like it. Master Race. Minole. Yeah, I mean it's still like a citrus. What's the word in English? Wait, I need to know. Yes, citrus fruits. Yeah. Normally it would have ended there, but the movie was only halfway over due to the brisk pace. The one family split into two. Both families were far separated, but the sisters kept in touch by sending letters back and forth. In one household, the mother started working and the younger sister was left all alone. Though she was still close with her older sister, she tried to make friends and move on. In the other household, the father started spending his free time on the older sister. He did things like taking her to the movies and going fishing together. During that quiet livelihood, they began to talk about life and love. The two stories interspersed. Which family's story did you find more interesting?
私は妹の方ですね。私も姉にべったりだったり、
Okay.
あの子に友達ができるように、レンジ君と出会ったこともあって。
If you say so.
なんだか、自分のことのようでくすぐったかったです。
I see.
でも、良かったのか悪かったのか。
What?
ラストシーンが。
Ah, that was a little... I agreed right away. In the last scene, both families visited an amusement park, then returned to being one family. The sisters coordinated the final plan in their letters to each other. They were caught in a curious development along the way, but it led to the finale they had arranged. It certainly felt like a normal ending.
でも、
Hmm?
最後がハッピーエンドでよ。
She's gonna start crying again. No. Aw. I realized it too late.
あれ
Her eyes were overflowing with tears again.
顔洗ってきます。
Do you need tissues?
意地悪です。
I saw her off, ordering more coffee as she quickly left her seat. With that, lunch ended, and we left the coffee shop. It seems like it's gotten colder than it was earlier.
そうですね。
Are you alright?
大丈夫ですが、
What?
手をつないでもいいでしょうか。
Chihiro was genuinely happy today. We were closer than usual, so our difference in height was obvious. It appeared as though I was being pestered by a child rather than asked by a lover. Oh well, I was happy as things were. No caffeine overdose, it's fine. Yeah.
ありがとうございます。
We nervously joined hands, her soft fingers entwined with mine, seeking warmth. No good, no good.
どうしました？
I completely forgot we were out as lovers. I took the chance to make conversation out of the movie, and we got into a deep discussion about it.
そうでした。
Did you too?
なんだかいつもと変わらず、レンジ君のそばにいるとのんびりします。
I guess the scene brings you happiness, right, Scrim? At ease. How should I take that assessment as a man? It was a little discouraging. What? Why? Well, what should we do now?
よろしければ海へ行きましょう。
The best thing of being with your person is that you feel so comfortable and at ease, and like that's how you're meant to be. You know, that your normal state of being is next to that person. So why was that discouraging? I think that's a compliment. They zoomed in on the thing. Yeah, super lewd. Beatrice is right. The beach.
恋人は海へ行くものなんだそうです。
I suppose. It certainly was the typical thing to do. The seashore on a day as cold as today didn't seem like a place for lovers, though. Wouldn't it be prettier if you went in the evening?
そうかもですが、
What is it?
すっかり忘れていました。
As she said that, she pulled out a key.
夕方ということで思い出しましたが、今朝、日村さんがこれをレンジ君にあげると。
Himura has something... Okay. I know this is the character for day, okay? This is all I know, okay? Does that mean something? Is that related to time of day? And then when you mention the evening, that's like, okay. Okay. That's a bit random. I don't know exactly what here triggered it, but good for you, Scrim. I have no idea what hidden Mitsurugi style. What's it for? I took it from her and inspected it. It didn't seem to be a house key.
学校の屋上の合鍵だそうです。
Huh?
夕方に屋上に登ると街並みがとても綺麗なんだそうです。後で見に行きましょう。
Oh! Alright, okay, thanks for the reminder. I forget names so easily. My bad. Yeah, I got you. Okay, but why did he have it?
あれ？どうしてでしょう？
Wonder why. She tilted her head in wonderment. He's one mysterious person.
そうですね。でも、なんだかこの鍵は風習なのだそうです。
Tradition?
あの学校では気が向いた時や卒業する時などにこの屋上の鍵を誰かに渡していくのだそうです。
There's a tradition like that. It wasn't very social, so I had never heard of it. I wasn't, sorry, very social. So I had never heard of it. Regardless, there was more fresh fuel added to the mystery that was Himura-san. Well, let's go to the beach now, then to the school by evening.
はい。
Man, her socks are so cute. Her whole outfit is incredibly adorable. I knew it would be in the first place, but it was cold. We stood there absent-mindedly. It was like a teenage movie gone bad.
寒すぎます。
It won't help even if you tell me so. Without thinking, I smiled when I saw her white breath. This rigid coldness could only become whimsical. The roar of the waves only made me shiver more. Come to think of it, the weather forecast said it might snow sometime tonight.
雪が。
That's what they said. Unusual, huh?
すごいです。
Her eye glittered. Yeah, it would be nice, but it might interfere with our date.
困るけど綺麗です。雪、見たかったので、降ってくれると嬉しいです。
Yeah. I nodded in agreement. She suddenly held my hand even more strongly. Cold?
寒すぎます。
I know.
でも恋人は、こんなところに来てどうするんですか？
She tilted her head. I thought about what situation would warrant it. They might come because they have nothing else to do. Kisutai.
何もすることがないから？
I wonder if you remember.
何をですか？
I pulled her in without saying anything. I hugged her tightly. She acted like she might run away for a moment, but that was probably a reflex. She immediately calmed down and set her head on my shoulder. Like a day once before. But this time we hugged as true lovers. Because there's nothing to do when it's cold. If we do this,
恥ずかしいです。
should we stop?
いえ、
Timidly, her hands reached for my back.
あったかい。
Her hands tickled my back as they wandered, as though they didn't know where to go. It was pleasant. She was warm and soft and smelled nice. There was a chance we might be seen by someone, but I didn't really care. I just didn't want to let go of her. Chihiro, I whispered into her ear. I love you. Mm.
私も大好きです。
Both of us giggled. Did I sound like a lover?
はい、バッチリです。
With a smile across her face, she took my hand as our bodies parted.
そろそろ学校に行きましょう。
Yeah. I wanted to hold her more, to hold her longer. But we didn't have time. I took a sidelong glance at the sun over the ocean. It was still bright, but it was slowly dropping. Dark clouds seemed to be brewing beyond it. Maybe it was hinting at our future. I wouldn't mind if the sun never set. If it were always, always bright. There would be no sense of loneliness. It would be a world with infinite opportunities. Such a place would be fine by me. Wouldn't it be nice if tomorrow never came? She stared at me. Then she averted her eyes as though lamenting that response, and picked her head back up.
そんなこと言ってはいけません。明日は今日よりいい日かもしれないじゃないですか。
We walked towards school without saying much along the way. The sunset immediately hurried us along once we left the beach. Both of us were aware of how much time was left. It wasn't that we had nothing to talk about. There was so much to say and not enough time to say it. Today we had to decide what was important and what we would tell each other. Such a rush. At the same time, we also might have felt things were fine as they were. When I looked at Chihiro, she responded with only a smile. The warmth of our firmly clasped hands might be enough. No, that was just an excuse. Time was running out. I loved Chihiro, and I had to keep telling her that. Properly. I had to show her through both my words and actions. That's how it always was. If you love someone, want to make friends, and want to make your dreams come true, just by thinking so, a time should naturally come where it will happen. For the longest time, I had decided to be alone for the sake of the girl who disappeared in my childhood. I had decided to stay a child. It was a foolish choice. An incorrect choice. It was just another convenient excuse. The girl walking beside me allowed me to certify that. I had irresponsibly made the first move, but she showed her own strength. She accomplished what she should have. She did what she wanted to do. With her ability, her handicap, her circumstances, she may have gotten lost on the way, but she made the choices. That was why we were here. I opened the heavy metal door. She looked up and admired the sky. I too was captivated by that red color as I stood on the roof. Wow. The view from here was amazing. The school was at a high position within the city and its roof was even higher. The unobstructed red of the sky was in full view. We have to thank Himura-san for this later.
そうですね。
We finally looked down and smiled at each other. At some point we had let go of each other, but it couldn't be helped this time. Chihiro walked around the roof as though she were in a daze. Ah, there's no fence here. I was surprised since it was my first time setting foot up here. That was probably why the area was off limits.
すごいすごい。
Don't get too close to the edge. She was in such high spirits that she could accidentally fly right off the roof. The wind was strong. If one stood too close to the edge...
大丈夫ですよ。
Well, okay. I wasn't very good with heights. I just stood in the middle of the roof and stared back up at the sky. Yeah. You and me both, Renji. I would do the same thing. It really is amazing. I relaxed my shoulders and puffed a white breath at the sky. Ah. From here, I might be able to reach. It was so loud I thought it was someone other than Chihiro for a moment. I looked at what was going on with her. She was blankly gazing at the sky without moving an inch. What's wrong? She bent her head to the side and held out her hands towards the sky. Then, like a sigh, something grazed my cheek. Something white danced with the wind. It appeared in an instant. This is...
雪です。
She called out loudly. What was she laughing about? She danced among the white petals fluttering through the clear red sky. It was a miraculous scene, like nothing in this world. I couldn't believe it, but the petals were certainly cold to the touch. It really was snow. Chihiro's hair and skirt fluttered about, and it looked like she was dancing without moving. Then the wind stopped blowing. The snowflakes hung in the air for a moment. They wrapped around her like fireflies. She spread her arms like she was trying to hug them. It was like she was conducting them, or like she was using magic.
晴れてるのにすごいです。
Kazahana. I recalled what knowledge I had. Kazahana was snow that flickered in during clear weather. It usually occurred in mountainous regions or at high altitudes where accumulated snow flew down with the wind. That must be it. I remember the dark clouds we saw at the beach. They were probably going to snow on the city later tonight. I believed those dark clouds symbolized our close future. However, at the whim of our city's characteristic ocean breeze, the snow alone went on ahead. Couldn't tomorrow possibly be a better day than today?
レンジ君と冬に出会えてよかった。
She spoke briefly. Her eye was fixed on me. All this while her body was clad in white sprites. She was informing me that she was glad this could all end in such a breathtaking phenomenon. Chihiro. I love you. I told her my feelings. Tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, and forevermore, I'll love you. I was taken over by my feelings. She looked blankly.
どうしましょう。最後になってきちんと言われてしまいました。
She smiled but looked troubled.
私たちはお別れした方がいいと思うんです。こんな綺麗な終わり方はないと思うんです。ここで終わっておけばいいんです。思い出だけで。この先は汚いから。今、一瞬飛び降りたくなりました。
She smiled powerlessly in the red glow. I don't think this is very fitting. I've admired such endings, but I answered honestly. That was the story I had seen in my dreams. When this date ended, Chihiro intended to disappear before me. It was certainly a clean ending, but this wasn't the right way to end it. It really didn't suit me. I had to struggle more miserably, crawl through the dirt, and bitterly cry out in anger, with honor unabashed, clumsily. I love you. All I could do was repeat it. If I could do nothing else, I could just repeat it. She was unable to reply as I stood before her, motionless. She just gazed up at me, with a childish gaze, a gaze mixed with anxiety and anticipation. It was a sign of loneliness. I reached my hand out to my princess's cheek. As always, she shook in surprise. But she leaned into my hand.
そっか。そういえばレンジ君は強情だったんですね。
Not as stubborn as you.
私は素直です。
Can I kiss you?
ダメです。キスは恋人がするものです。
I am your lover.
そういう時は黙ってキスするんですよ。
That's true.
そうです。
We awkwardly smiled and closed our eyes like it was all according to plan. Softly, gently. Our lips met, guided by our warm breath. Our first kiss was a little different than I had imagined. The feeling of our lips coming together was a much lighter sensation than I thought it would be. But it was warm and comforting. With a bright red face, she broke away. What's wrong?
してしまいました。
Did what? With my hand still cradling her cheek, I teased her a bit.
初めてキスを。
With such a pure answer, my shoulders began to feel weak. Me too.
キスってこんなだったんですね。なんだか変になっちゃいそうです。
Yeah. I nodded, also realizing it. It was so cold here, yet her cheeks and the nape of her neck maintained a light sweat. I traced my hand down from her ear to her neck. Sorry, it just happened. I blurted out, confused like an idiot.
大丈夫です。変な声を出してすみません。
No, I'm sorry too. We laughed like it was a joke, and when I tried to separate from her, Chihiro reached out and wouldn't let me go. Chihiro?
最後までしてくれませんか?
I considered what that meant, then peered in her eye. She stared straight at me with an unwavering gaze.
変なことじゃないです。普通の女の子みたいにしてほしいです。せっかく今日の私がここまで来れたのに、また遠くにいるみたいに扱われるのは嫌です。レンジ君と本当に恋人になれたってお願いです。
Chihiro. I was determined not to run away from this moment either. I love you. I firmly embraced her. It might hurt, but right now I didn't want to let her go.
心臓ドキドキしてます。優しい音です。
Yours is too. We both laughed and hugged each other a while longer. It was cold on this roof, but I still felt mysteriously warm. I could hear her gentle breathing by my ear. I wondered if she was listening to me breathe as well, and felt a little embarrassed.
レンジ君の背中広い。
She put more strength into her arms. Our emotional desire grew, and whether it was impure or natural, our physical desire also grew. Under that glowing red sunset, we shared our first time together.
レンジ君
She then gently reached out. She gently reached her hand out to me.
好きです。
She cupped my cheek with her hand and guided me in for a kiss. Just a tender kiss. We walked through the illuminated school. I confirmed it was around 7 p.m. while Chihiro got dressed. Scream is surprised. I don't think it was that awkward. And even if it was a little bit awkward, I still think it was super wholesome.
好きです。
Walking along.
大好きです。
I get it already. I responded with a grin. She kept saying I love you over and over and pestered me for kisses. What kind of change had she gone through? Or was she like this from the start? It was embarrassing, so I could only respond curtly. No, I said wholesome with a W, man. It was kind of unreal, but I kept walking. I was feeling comfortably fatigued.
レンジ君
What?
Chup.
Chup. Complete with sound effects. She stood on her tiptoes and clung to me. Wait a second.
ダメです。
She forcibly snatched my lips once more. Okay, I don't know what I did, but sure. Jeez, I was very happy. We should go somewhere and open a window to get out. The doors were already locked. We didn't have much choice.
あの
What? I thought she was going to ask for another kiss, but she simply stared at me.
まだ今日です。もうちょっとだけ一緒にいてください。
Ah, I caught on a little late. She was smiling. It was hard to see in the dark, but I could tell something from her expression. I don't think I need to read that to know, because everything about them is just wrapped in this layer of cuteness and wholesomeness with a little sprinkle of awkwardness on top, but I think it's just fitting for the characters. That's why I like them so much. They're one of my favorite couple in here, right? Like Yuko she's the image of my soul, right? She's my mirror in many ways, and I love her to death and I love her story. But from the stories of like the kids in this novel, it's them who I like the most, simply because of this. It's wonderful to me, and I'm sure the +18 part was also wonderful. So I don't care. I don't need to see it. In my mind, that's how it will always be.
深夜の学校でのデートというのも綺麗です。寒いですけど。
Somehow, A strange, ominous premonition crossed my mind, but I shook it off. Yeah, we might get in trouble later, but let's do it.
はい。
She smiled peacefully. I can't imagine it being any other way. It can't be. And if it is, then shame on the writers for making it so out of character. Right? In my mind, it will always be pure also. Sweet. And yeah, awkward because, like, they didn't really know what they were doing, but they figured it out in the end. So, good for them. Good on them. It's not the mangaka, it's just, you know, the writers of the novel. We wandered about, but ended up settling into the familiar library room. There was still a possibility we'd get caught, so we left the lights out. Left the lights off, not out. We couldn't read, so we just snuggled up to each other. I'm sure hungry.
そうですね。
We both nodded.
やっぱりレンジ君にお弁当を作ってきてもらえばよかったです。
You can next time.
はい。今度はピクニックとかいいです。原っぱでのんびりと。
I don't think Beatrice is familiar with the scene. Or are you? I don't know. I got this idea that you didn't go too far into the novel, so maybe you didn't get here, so you don't know. Yeah, no. We're doing the version where the sexy stuff is cut out, Scrim. So, but in the original version of the game, it was present. Like, if it had been present, I wouldn't have been able to do it on stream, so that's a good thing. It's fine. She sounded like she was slowing down, so I took a close look at her. Are you sleepy?
ちょっとだけですが。
There's... What comics? My dude, there isn't any. Not that I know of. Do you usually go to bed around this time? It was about 9 p.m. The light of my cell phone shined faintly into the darkness. It was like a firefly.
そうですね。あまりすることもないですし、日が変わる前には。それに昨日は勉強してて夜も遅かったので。
She must have been up late reading romance novels. How charming. Oh, okay, so you've seen this one, alright. But that means you went quite far. Wait, what? That was the 4th story. What time do you normally wake up?
いつもは7時。遅いと8時くらいまでは寝てます。
You sleep quite a bit, huh?
そうですか？冬はどうも苦手で。
Well, if you want to sleep, it's fine. I positioned myself so she could use my shoulder as a pillow.
いえ、今はいいです。すごく幸せで。寝ちゃうのがもったいないので。
Go drive, Scream, enjoy it. Take care. Thanks for dropping by. Always nice to see you. Well, not actually see you, you know what I mean. Yeah. Take care. Something else came up and you lost your interest. That's perfectly fine, Beatrice. No worries. You don't have to justify yourself. I just, my memory is bad, so I just get I just guess I got this idea that you dropped it a bit earlier than you actually did. So my bad for misremembering. Yep. Take care. Is that so? We kissed softly. They were the only ones in the library. Chihiro slouched over and peered at me as I held my waist.
痛いですか?
No, not really. She seemed pretty worried, so I stretched my arms and laughed. I wasn't exactly experienced, but I expected as much from messing around on top of the cold concrete.
そうですか。
Bye bye, Scream.
ですよね。
She cast her eyes down and her cheeks flared. She must have been remembering it. But then that means you're not familiar with Yuko's story, Beatrice, right? I approached her neck and kissed it. Her sweat had already completely dried and her smooth skin smelled sweet. You're cute.
意地悪。
Alright, cool. At least there's something that's gonna be new for you. I appreciate you putting up with all of it. Since maybe you didn't like it so much. I'm praising you.
私もです。
We chuckled. We whispered to one another. Come to think of it, there was something on my mind.
何ですか?
What's it like underneath that eye patch? It couldn't hurt to ask. Maybe it was my privilege as her boyfriend.
確か何もないですよ。
Nothing?
はい。
What does that feel like?
変な感じです。
Can I see? Oh my god.
ダメです。
No matter what.
女の子の秘密です。
Yeah. I see. A beam might really shoot out after all. Oh my god. I closed my eyes with such a joke on my mind. There's still one more hour. We got sick of sitting and wandered the library. I walked in between a few aisles and browsed the book spines. Chihiro was curiously looking around the library, but suddenly stopped and stared at the clock. She looked dreadfully serious. What's wrong?
いえ。
She sounded uneasy. Would it be better if you went home after all?
そうじゃないんです。違うんです。
She shook her head back and forth. What was it? I followed her eye. The clock said it was 11 p.m.
まだ今日です。
Impatience mingled in her voice.
あと1時間あります。
That's when I realized. We met at 9 a.m. and it was 11 p.m. now, so an hour from after we met this morning had already disappeared from her memory. Will today be a better day than yesterday? It was now the next day. We silently stared at the minute and hour hands which overlapped on the 12. And just like that, a new day had begun.
過ぎてしまいました。
Yeah. The trial period has passed, but we became true lovers, so it's alright. I replied as comfortably as possible. Somehow my voice felt like it wasn't mine.
そうですね。
She smiled sweetly. I prayed in my mind for today to be a better day than yesterday. She became talkative. Chihiro became talkative. We had many conversations about books, movies, and more. The morning was still far off. There was nothing more to talk about. We cuddled up and just thought about the passing, disappearing time. The clock's needle was like a knife. It was agonizing. The second hand felt like it was cutting through my body with every tick. Chihiro, she was looking at the clock as I did before. She noticed me looking at her and grinned. I was glad it was winter. The morning was still far off. All the memories are retraced. Chihiro started reading her notebook a while ago. Occasionally she'd smile. For some reason, she would look up at me with her eye narrowed. Her face looked lonely. When I asked her what she was doing, a troubled smile crossed her face, and she answered, "I want to read over everything that's happened since I met you." I had guessed so. It was like looking at a photo album. I leaned against her and we started reading from the beginning of the notebook. The fun things, the happy things, the sad things, the scary things. I wanted to share all the feelings I felt that weren't written in that notebook. The ceiling never changed. I had no idea how much time had passed. We passed the time enjoying ourselves as we read her diary. And just like little birds, we kissed many times as though it were essential to life itself. Her memories disappeared. 2 hours had passed while she updated her notebook. She rubbed her eye repeatedly. It would have been unreasonable to tell her not to push it. I couldn't say anything. I frantically counted back in my mind. 5 a.m. How much had disappeared? I couldn't put my thoughts in order anymore. It was simple addition and subtraction, and yet, after 2 or 3 minutes, I finally understood. Everything up to 4 p.m. yesterday had disappeared. What were we doing at that time? Oh, that was when we headed to school. The movie, our conversation at the coffee shop, what we did at the beach, everything up until we visited the school had disappeared. I shouldn't have thought about it. My chest felt empty. I don't want to keep going. I want it to end here. Anything and everything. I want to end it while we're still happy. I could understand Chihiro's feelings now. The harsh time limit drew near. 1 more hour. I couldn't believe that up to yesterday at 5 p.m. had disappeared. That sunset, that miraculous snow, and the feelings I confessed. She smiled gently and we parted. She stood up. I slowly stood up as well. My body ached from sitting all the time. I was hungry and thirsty. My body and mind were worn out from both sleepiness and the torture of watching time pass. Is it about time to go home? I was faintly hopeful.
そうですね。
Her voice was clearly happy. However, I couldn't look at her face. I couldn't, no matter what. I didn't want to see that gentle smile.
お別れですね。
A shy voice. No.
これだけは、レンジ君が強情でもダメです。
No.
ごめんなさい。
Please don't apologize. If she was going to apologize, then she should have just stayed with me. My eyes burned as I looked straight into her own. The light from the sky as it changed colors shone in. She really was smiling.
ずっと決めていたんです。あの話が書き終わったらって。さっきも屋上でこんな会話を交わしたんですよね。忘れちゃったけど。
She smiled like an angel.
レンジ君の前から消えようって決めてたんです。思い出に残らないように、そっと静かに。人魚姫が泡になるように消えようと思ったんです。
A cheerful voice.
でも、私は弱いから、こうしてデートをしてしまいました。これじゃあ人魚姫じゃなくてシンデレラです。
That's fine. It would be presumptuous to suggest that I was the prince.
違うんです。レンジ君。
She calmly interrupted me and shook her head.
私は幸せでした。 とてもとても幸せでした。私はレンジ君のことが好きです。苦しいくらい大好きなんです。だから好きですと言えるうちにお別れさせてください。
Why? The answer was obvious. Very soon, that feeling of hers would fade away. I knew that, and it overwhelmed me.
レンジ君は私のためにいろいろなことをしてくれました。ずっと諦めていた小説を書かせてくれました。制服を着て学校に行けるようにしてくれました。あの寒い、どこにも行き場のない駅から私を連れ出してくれました。本当は私、寒さと寂しさで泣きそうだったんです。最初に会った時、上を向いていたのは泣きそうだったからです。そんな私をあなたは抱きしめてくれました。ぬくもりをくれました。
Her smile.
だから私はレンジ君にも幸せになってほしい。
Her smile was terrible enough on its own.
嫌いだから消えるんじゃないんです。私にもレンジ君を幸せにする方法があったんです。何もできないはずの私がそれを見つけることができました。だから笑ってください。褒めてください。いつもみたいに笑ってお別れしてください。
A choice, huh? Interesting. Apparently the choice here is to reject it. Oof. Okay. Let's go. No. That was my answer. She might forget, but I still held everything in my own memory. I love you. I can't accept something so foolish. It was like watching over a selfish child. She wouldn't listen to what I had to say right up to the last moment. You really are the stubborn one.
そうでしたね。
She smiled.
ごめんなさい。
Tears floated to her eye. They immediately overflowed down her cheek. She desperately tried to hold them back.
本当にわがままばかりで許してください。
After she wiped her eye, she took her notebook out of her pocket and placed it in my hand. There was a cool sensation remaining from her tears. It was her diary from the past month. In essence, it was her entire memory since the day we met. Hey Clinton! How's it going? It was incredibly easy to understand the significance of her relinquishing it.
ここに最後の物語を残しました。
Story?
私がいなくなったら読んでください。
My hands. My words. Why couldn't they reach her? No, that's not it. I whispered so softly that even I couldn't hear it. My mind was torn. It was something different. It had to be Renji Aso. Why weren't you speaking up? Was it all just fake? Thinking such tragic thoughts. You're using her handicap as an excuse. You're pretending you have no backbone. Was it conceited to think you could reach this girl who lived with everything she had? That was right. She wasn't the one standing still. I was.
何かまだいっぱい言いたいことがあるみたいですが、もうちょっとすると大泣きしてみっともなくなるので帰ります。
Notification in my Discord? Sorry about that. It's the bot. I don't know how the bot works. I just configured it and I'm hoping that it works. So sorry. Yeah, indeed it did not do it. I guess I could look into a different bot, but this is the one I've been using for years and it's never really failed me. Like it's odd that it did that. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I looked into it the last time you pointed it out as well, and there was just like there was nothing weird, and then the next stream it worked, so I don't know. I can look into maybe there are other bots that do the same thing and they're a bit more reliable. She was composed as always, save for her voice. She took several steps back.
さようなら。
She bowed quickly.
ありがとうございました。
Then she laughed. Everything works this way. Time flows on. Memories disappear. I wasn't sure if it was a desk or a chair, but I slammed something with my fist. A child was crying somewhere far in the distance. Oh, Beatrice. It's alright. I was late by 20 minutes anyway, so shame on me. Hey, Infinity N, how are you? Things are alright. We're progressing steadily. Mom didn't say anything to me about staying out all night. She just asked me if I'd eaten. As mums do. I shook my head. Unable to say any more, I returned to my room and promptly fell asleep. I slept like I had died. It has been written that sleep is a natural state for humans and that being awake is unnatural. That sounded about right. After all, this world was incredibly cruel. Unable to reset. Fatal wound or not, I had to keep going. That night, I got a phone call from Mizuki. I couldn't really remember what we talked about. Most likely I simply nodded as she kindly spoke to me. Before I knew it, I had told her everything. Why I told her I didn't know. She had changed somewhat from her old self.
ねえ、彼女と会ったこと後悔してる？
She asked me that after I told her everything. It was the dead of a winter night. I stood perfectly still in this dry chill, which was stealing the heat from beneath me. Even so, it was a lovely moonlit night. It was serene, like being in a desert of silver salt. Well, it's such a quiet night that I could embrace that it had ended.
聞いちゃダメだった。
Oh, I'm I'm glad everything is fine with your tenants. I'm glad you're not sick. Good, thank God. I'm happy. My cousin Mizuki Hayama spoke once more, probably because I had neglected to reply. No, regret?
そう、後悔。
Let me think. I questioned it within my very heart. I thought about the days I spent with her, and about our separation. Yeah, I think I do. I replied honestly. I wonder what would have happened if we had met under different circumstances, if there was more I could have done, or what might have been if I had more strength. I hate having such vexing, painful thoughts.
レンジ、今笑ってる？
Why?
声がそんな感じだったから。
I regret it though. Our time together wasn't even that happy. Oh man. I feel like this is a little bit insulting to Chihiro, like... oh, Clinton. Again, I replied honestly, and I was able to answer instantly.
そっか。そっか。みんな頑張ってるんだね。
Everyone?
こっちの話。もう遅いし電話代もかかるから切るね。今度遊びに行くからおばさまにもよろしくって伝えておいて。
Thanks, Mizuki.
え？ありがとうって何が？
This phone call. You were worried about me. I forcibly grinned. My usually annoying cousin never used to be so considerate.
はあ。んなわけないでしょ。おやすみ、レンジ。
Good night, Mizuki. The phone beeped 3 times, confirming the end of the call. It was a lovely moonlit night. I do regret it. My voice shook. The backs of my eyes and the lining of my throat burned. I began to think this feeling of regret would never end. It didn't seem like I could sleep. My body was chilled through, though I wanted to curl right up in bed and sink into unconsciousness. My heart ached and I was wide awake. I fetched her notebook from my pocket, the notebook she gave me as we parted. Her precious memories. They were embedded within. Let's recall them one by one. It was a tale I was personally involved in. I had reread it many times and committed it to memory. Such was written on the first page, in beautiful, soothing writing.
昨日の私から今日の私へ。
Sorry, I forgot I had voice acting. I thought I had to read it. But I want to know the extra story. Okay, we've seen the story so far, but like, it truly was a beautiful moonlit night. I gazed at the night sky through the window.
眠れないの？
Mom spoke to me. Had she been up this whole time?
電気もつけないで文字を読んでると目が悪くなるわよ。
Oh, Beatrice. I appreciate it. You're always here like clockwork. I don't know how I can express my gratitude for that. I guess we can take this as an attempt. Like, I notice, and it makes me happy, so thank you. You're right. I'm already done though. It was over. Yesterday's events, now the day before yesterday's events, seemed distant. I read the final story that remained in her notebook. Then I sighed. Can you read it to us too? Like, we want to know. Mom didn't say anything. Should I have told her about it? No, there was nothing to be said. However, there was one thing I had to mention. Hey, I received a career survey. The deadline is soon. I got it a while ago. I felt like running away, but she calmly nodded. Did you know?
ほら、料理教室で。
Oh, I transmit radio waves. I like Infinity's interpretation more. Oh. Yeah. The emotion part, I dig that. Emotion waves. That's what it is. Oh, of course she knew. There was no way she wouldn't with those gossiping wives around. I see, you knew. I replied as little as possible. Though she was always restless, she waited quietly for me. Perhaps she had always waited for me. What do you want to become? She didn't even ask that. We fumbled along together. I think I'm hopeless. I clenched my fist. Since I had awakened from my dream, I could now plant my feet into reality. I had always thought that I didn't have any special talents. I was convinced of that. I stopped being serious. I felt regret, gave up, and might have thrown everything away. But
でも、今はそうじゃないんでしょ？
she gently smiled.
応援するよ。早く寝なさいね。風邪ひいちゃうから。おやすみなさい。
The next day, I submitted the career survey. I wrote novelist, and nothing more. The teacher scowled, but once he saw the look in my eyes, he accepted it without a word. I was now determined. Winter break came. I studied as hard as I could. Not for school, of course. My grades were in the red zone. Instead, I reread all the novels I owned. Up until now, I had just been skimming. When I read them more carefully, they were packed with surprising discoveries. That's always the case when you reread books. How to write characters, methods of expression, speech, organization, and conclusions. Little by little, I noticed it was because of my own story. I spent much more time in the library when the new term began. First off, I rewrote our story in my own special way.
千尋が書いている物語と真剣に向き合え。なんであいつがそんな話を書いているのか。どうしてそんな物語になってしまったのか。それを考えろ。千尋よりも先に結末にたどり着け。
I remembered some nostalgic words. So this is it.
まだです。レンジ君が読んで問題なければ完成です。私だけじゃなくて、二人で書いてきたものですから。
In that case, I thought this was incomplete. No, this was Chihiro's story. So I had to prepare my own ending for the girl in the story. I didn't care if people thought it was unsightly or poorly written. It didn't even matter whether they were right or not. It would have been foolish to expect no bumps along the path anyway. I just had a goal I wanted to reach someday. I wanted to touch people's hearts, to be proud of my own heart, and to regain hers. That sort of goal. No, Renji-kun. I pushed on, aiming to write my own story. Yes, I have not had time to sit down and write it, but I think I will do it tomorrow afternoon, since there's no stream. I'm gonna have in the afternoon and the evening to myself, and I will sneak in a little bit of writing. On a whim, I went to the school rooftop. The key Himura-san handed out to me was useful when I wanted to be alone. There, I read the notebook Chihiro had given me. On the final page was a story I hadn't noticed when we read it together. It was the final confession she left behind the day before our date. Oh, finally we get to see it.
実は昨日、教会に行ってきたんです。神様なんて信じていなかったのに。でも、祈ってきました。どうか、どうか、どうか。私の思いが記録ではなく記憶になるようにと。麻生蓮司さん、私はこの手帳をあなたに預けようと思います。あなたと出会ってから今日までの記録を。万が一奇跡が起こったのなら。でもおそらくそんなことはないでしょう。明日の私はあなたを傷つけるはずです。
As if as if the other generations were like coherent. I mean, I guess they had like you could discern something from them, but they weren't necessarily coherent. They were weird.
だからこの手帳をあなたに預けます。もう 私と関わり合いたくないときは、この手帳を捨ててください。個人的にですが、私はその方がいいと思います。だけど、こんな夢を願ってはいけないのに、もしも、ずっと、こんなバカで、本当にどうしようもない私を好きでいてくれるのなら、また会ってもらえるなら、この手帳を、記憶を私に返してください。この手帳を読めば、明日以降の私も納得すると思います。私は、あなたのものになります。
千尋。
どんなにひどいことをされてもいいと思います。私は、それにふさわしい傷をあなたに与えるだろうから。どちらを自分が望んでいるのか、本当によくわかりません。心のどこかで、今の自分のこんな苦しみが、いつか消えてしまうことを知っていて、まるで自分の足で立ててなくて、悩んでいられる時間すらなくて、あなたのことを好きになってしまって。
I fell in love with you. I'm sorry. Before winter was over, I had to finish rewriting the story of the last girl alive in the world somehow.
行っちゃうの？
She whispered in that finished world. The dream of a sheep. The dream of the girl I couldn't protect. You're my dream, I answered with determination. She was a convenient girl. They were convenient words. It was a convenient escape. This is just a world I wanted to create. With every declaration, the world began to blur around me.
それはいけないことなの？
It's probably very good. I was beyond foolish to have forgotten that. The world was far more beautiful in the first place, despite the sorrow we feel as we try to reach for that unattainable sky. But that's all the more reason not to use your dreams as excuses. I won't forget you. I wouldn't forget. I just wouldn't use the dream I had lost as an excuse. I love you too, after all. With this final dream, the sheep's chain was cut.
そっか。
She took one step back and smiled.
ねえ、名前を呼んで。
Yeah.
バイバイ、レンジ君。
Goodbye, Mizuki. I called out the disappearing girl's name. She dashed, and I could hear her no longer. She had turned towards and raced over the broken railroad tracks. That's why I turned towards the station. I am confused about this bit though, because his mother mentioned something about a Mizuki in his past who had died, but it's too much of a name coincidence with his cousin, so I am like, what? I don't understand. I was hoping they would give us more detail, but I guess that's it. That day, the station felt so nostalgic. I wanted to say it had been a long time. I wondered, what if there was a high probability that I had taken some stupid vow all on my own? Even so, I was at ease. Emerging from the crowd, I gazed at the hint of the blue sky. Himura-san was standing outside the station. We had met many times afterwards, but we never talked about her. We just talked about trivial matters. I slowly approached him.
Oh.
His expression was somewhat mysterious. Neither of us greeted the other. He nodded at something. His usual villainous smile popped onto his face and he pointed towards the station.
カラスなぜ鳴くのカラスは山にかわいい七つの子があるからよ
A nostalgic Japanese song. The pebbles on the ground were cluttered like constellations. I quietly walked through the station. It was like reliving that spectacle. She was there. She appeared to be holding something and was staring blankly into the sky. She was much like an exposed fledgling. The commotion from in front of the station could be heard far in the distance. I stood still and waited for her to notice me. Hey.
どうも
She greeted me, a step behind. She had a brand new notebook and paperback sitting on her lap. Am I interrupting something?
いえ
After observing my face for a while, she put her belongings into her pocket and stood up slowly. She was a pretty girl. There was no way I could see her as anything but a year younger than me. Okay. I smiled a little. She had forgotten everything. Really, how much time had passed? She was really stubborn in some strange ways.
変なこと聞いていいですか
Yes.
よくここに来ますか
What to do? I clenched and unclenched my fist and nodded. Time to time.
ここに落とし物がありませんでしたか
Lost items?
手帳なんですけど実は2、3ヶ月くらい前だと思うんですけどここによく遊びに来ていた時期があったらしくて大切な手帳なんです
She couldn't explain the situation. Everything came full circle. Interesting. I reached into my pocket and felt the cover of that lost piece of property.
また会ってもらえるならこの手帳を記憶を私に返してください私はあなたのものになります
I tightly grasped the notebook and smiled. Sorry, I don't know anything about it.
そうですか
It was really too bad. She seemed deplored, like she was reading stage directions from a script. This probably wasn't something I should say, but... By the way, if you took off that eye patch, would a beam shoot out? Why is there an obsession with that question?
Huh?
Never mind. It really was trivial.
私に何か用事があるんですか
No. Nothing in particular. I just sort of ended up coming here.
そうですか
There is no eye laser. It's fine. But it might also have been destiny.
縁
The truth is, I'm aiming to be a novelist.
そうなんですか
Yeah. And so there's a story I would really like someone to read. Is that okay?
私なんかでよろしければ
She smiled. Rather than the notebook, I pulled out the envelope containing the novel from my bag. A girl was the only person in her world. Therefore, that made her God. God thought she would make the world much cleaner. She burned all of the pictures. She set fire to the mansion and the castle. She burned all of her memories completely. Lastly, God threw the only trash left in the world from the cliff. Chihiro's answer was agonizingly correct, and at the same time mistaken. She wished to write a story because she thought if she disappeared, there should be something of hers remaining. However, because she didn't really want to disappear, she couldn't write it. She wrote such a story because she wanted to be a girl alone in the world. However, a boy had been introduced. Because joy is the opposite of loneliness, it became a tragedy. In which case, I wrote my own conclusion. The girl was no longer the only person in her world. Therefore, that made her human. She couldn't become God. If Beatrice doesn't want to write, she shouldn't write. That's fine, there's no pressure, we're just having fun. She read the final sentence many times. She started to cry. The tears streamed down her face. I wanted to wipe them away, but she hadn't given the me of today permission. I clenched my fist and withstood it. Were her feelings too much for her?
これは違うんです。
Yeah. That was... No. Even I didn't know the meaning of those tears.
変なの。
Like it was all a dream, her crying suddenly stopped. She once again set her eyes on the novel. This time, she had a very rigid expression. Does anything catch your interest?
途中までは良かったんですけど。最後がひどいですね。
Is it? I held back a burst of laughter. I'll end it with the prologue. This was a story that began here, a story about broken memories. Perhaps you could call it a misbegotten fairy tale. It was about piecing back together the scattered memories which she had assembled each day. The sky was so high, I couldn't reach the winter sun even if I tried. So instead, I reached for what was more important straight ahead of me. There was a chance that by reuniting with her, yet another tragedy would befall me. If that happened, it may end even more terribly than the last time. And yet, today could possibly be a better day than yesterday. Tomorrow could possibly be an even better day than today. I tried to believe in a happy ending. We'll begin from this station. Let's go somewhere even more beautiful than that snowy rooftop sunset someday. We would surely be able to, no matter how distant. All because I love her. By the way, could I ask your name? I'm Renji Aso. After a moment of bewilderment, she looked at me happily.
私は
We're back here.
悲しいことですね。なくしてしまった記憶。二度と取り戻せないなんて。
取り戻せないわけじゃない。彼女が記憶を失っても、千尋とレンジが過ごした時間が消えてなくなるわけじゃない。跡形もなく消えてしまうものなんて、きっと何もない。
形にならないものも、必ずどこかに伝わっていく。そう信じていいんでしょうか。
信じよう。俺たちは信じなくちゃいけない。お前の思いだって消えてないさ。
私の思い。だけど私が失ったものは少なくないんですよ。記憶はほころびだらけで、ところどころにもやがかかってるみたいで、二人で過ごした時間、私がどんな気持ちを抱いていたのか、それすらも遠くに霞んでしまっているんです。
俺が覚えている。お前と過ごした時間を、季節を忘れたことなんてない。
思い出させてくれますか。
思い出してくれ。この記憶は俺だけのもんじゃない。辛いこともたくさんあったけど、俺とお前にとってかけがえのない思い出だから。
はい。
俺が預かっていた記憶を今から返すよ。
私は優子って言います。
Okay. I thought we would move on to Mizuki's story, but we'll see where this goes, okay? That part there was autoplayed, so I couldn't do anything. I just let it run. And this is perfect moment to end stream today. Perfect length as well. So yeah, there we are. Man, that was intense. And a little bit unexpected, at least to me. Let me exit this, and then we go here. Hey, oh, let me see what else you guys wrote there. He's ending it with the intro. It's it wasn't the intro. They basically met again. So yeah. No, it's all right. Going back to the wait for a second, the writing thing. Like, if Beatrice doesn't feel like doing it, she shouldn't. Like, it's supposed to be fun. It should not be a chore. Also, look who's talking. You also didn't write the first one. You did a little bit for the second one, which is commendable. Good job. But, like, you know. What was that saying? Damn. We have a saying in Romanian that, like, cannot be translated literally. But then there's also something in English that's very similar. I just can't remember it. Well, what is your message if I'm not getting it? Can you spell it out for me? Anyway, regarding the story, this is quite different twist at the end than the anime. I guess the anime made it a little bit more grandiose and dramatic by adding some original content that I still think is really good and is worth checking out. But I kind of like this one, like a little bit more subdued and focused on just the twist in the story and adding it, like, how do I put it? Like, Chihiro was taking this whole responsibility just onto herself, and she just doesn't have to. She doesn't have to be alone in the world. She can just rely on the people around her. And it doesn't have to be the whole world. It's enough for there to be 1-2 people, and that's it. You can make a happy ending out of a tragic one. I like that. It's hard to say that if I like one or the other more. I think there's plenty of original content in the anime that is incredibly in character and fitting for the characters and is really worth checking out. But at the same time, I'm really digging, like I said, like a little bit more low-key, more subdued version in that's not so bombastic and dramatic and like super cosmic and meaning and whatnot that the end is kind of putting forth. You get to see like little extra bits and pieces of the characters that in and of themselves don't seem that much, but together as a whole, they paint some extra images and reflections of them that you didn't know before, and it kind of like makes it all come together in a beautiful whole. So I definitely recommend experiencing both of them. Okay, all right. I do also believe that Beatrice is incredibly capable, but at the same time, like I said, we respect her wishes. Well, Clinton approves. He's rewatched the anime recently, so he knows exactly what I'm talking about. Yes, and at the same time, this is a very specific case. Like, I have experienced VNs before while knowing the anime, and usually what the anime does is just like concentrate stuff, cuts stuff out, and so on. Obviously, because there's much more context in the VN than they could possibly fit in the anime, so they have to choose something, especially if they're like multiple branching routes with different outcomes and so on. Like they choose something and they just like move the story along that way. But in this case, where there isn't really branching happening, there are some bad endings, I guess, but like those aren't like, I'm not even interested in experiencing them because that's not the point. That's not why I'm doing the VN. Here, while the VN seems a little bit more toned down and slice of lifey, the anime like took it to an absolutely next level and added a bunch of stuff, like I said, that is, how do I put it? It's odd now that I read this to not have the stuff there, but at the same time that makes me praise the anime even more because they came up with original content that's perfectly fitting and adds layers on top of the VN. Yeah, I mean, adapting something from one medium to another will always be a challenge because once you create it for a specific medium, you take advantage of all of the tools that medium offers you to reach to the heart and souls of the player, the reader, whatever the thing is. And then when you transpose it to another medium, you suddenly lose some of the tools. Like a lot of people are complaining, like, oh my god, the monologues in Fate Stay Night are so amazing, and they're just like absolutely missing from the anime. Because yes, like the anime would be boring as fuck if it was just like Shira monologuing the whole fucking way. Like they are trying to express the same ideas, but in a different way, right? The VN is the exception. This VN is the exception. Okay. Yeah, I definitely, like I said, will be a supporter of the anime until the end of my days. As long as I draw breath, I will recommend this one for people who want to check it out. The monologue are intense, yes, and even here as well, like there's a different perspective that you get on the characters, especially on the guys, because you, and even the girls too, because you have these like moments when you see their internal monologues and how they perceive certain things in words, right? And in the anime that's not happening, obviously, because again, like you wouldn't want something just like monologuing at you while you're trying to watch something. Right? It would be weird. So that's cut out, but they're trying to express the same things in different ways. And one thing that the anime did for this visual novel that is, I would say, unique, because I have not really encountered it, they went for incredibly eclectic, possibly it could be branded weird, but like unconventional ways of transmitting things in a visual manner, right? So even though there aren't words, there are these visual cues and little sprinkles of things that are not, you don't really see them in other anime, that kind of create a certain atmosphere and give you a certain feeling. But it's not a one-to-one way of transposing things, because it can't match. The anime dark, yeah, maybe it's definitely taking like things to a higher level of drama as well, but it's not that kind of drama that's cringy, right? It's well justified, I would say. Yeah, exactly. But you just can't have that in a movie or in an anime, because it doesn't really make sense. It's not really that compatible with the medium, right? Even having a little bit of narration, it kind of feels off in movies, like cinema sins, whenever they do like a video of like what's wrong in a movie, they're always like narration. It's always like a bad thing in their view, and I can understand where they're coming from, because it's kind of, in a way, it's lazy, because you should show me the thing, not just throw words at me, right? You're a visual medium. You're not a novel. Anyway, yeah. I was like kind of bracing myself for some stuff from the anime that didn't happen, and I was like, huh, what are they gonna do with this? And then they did this thing, and I'm like, yeah, I totally see it. I approve. I like the story. Still my favorite story. I have not played Heaven's Feel. Heaven's Feel. Sorry, I just watched the movies. I should get there too someday, though. Whenever I get the chance to actually sit down and play VNs in my own time and not on stream. It would be wonderful if that would ever become a VN we could do on stream, but alas, that is not the case. And so we will enjoy other things, because thankfully the well of VNs will not run dry anytime soon. Alrighty, cool. This was great. I feel in such a good mood. I'm glad like we reached the ending at a proper time to end the stream as well, so it fit nicely and tidy, and next time we jump into the next one, and yeah, I can go to sleep peacefully and be excited about next time. Right, other than that, I think I've exhausted everything that I had to say. I appreciate your presence here, guys. I'm sorry about the bot not working. I don't know. I will look into another bot. And otherwise, yeah, we will continue with our usual scheduling, and I will see you again Thursday with some more F goodness. And apparently we're jumping into some of Yuko's story. I thought the next story should be Mizuki, but maybe they're like interspersed into a mingled whatever. We see a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I don't know. We'll see how the VN did it. We'll figure it out. For now, night night, take care, and yeah, see you next time, or whenever you manage to be around. Good luck with everything. Have a nice end to your day, or like a nice beginning to your day, Infinity End, since you're like in a whole different time zone than us. Yeah, take care. Good luck with everything, and bye bye.